Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Divorce View talk show. This show has been created to support you in all areas of divorce, whether it's co-parenting, how to get along with your ex, or even if you're getting back into the dating game. Hi, it's Joanie Winberg, certified human behavior consultant, divorce mentor, and CEO of the National Association of Divorce for Women and Children. As you all know, I have a great co-host that I love doing this with every week, and I'd like to introduce my co-host, Rosalind Sadaka. Hello, Roz.
Hey, and thank you, Joanie. I'm Rosalind Sadaka. I'm a divorce and parenting expert and founder of the Childcentred Divorce Network for Parents. And my focus, of course, is the divorce and parenting world, making sure that if you divorce and you are a parent and you're very aware of all the consequences for your children and ways to make life easier for them. And I'm very excited about our program today because we have a guest who is perfectly suited to give us wonderful advice about making the co-parenting experience smoother and easier, and I think that's something we all are looking for. Unfortunately, there wasn't a resource like this around when I got my divorce back in the early 90s, but today you have access to that, and I think it'll make a huge difference for all of you. So I want to welcome Hanif Irani, and he is the CEO of CoParently, and he'll tell you more about that. Welcome, Hanif.
Thank you very much, Rosalind. Thank you for having me on.
Welcome. We're thrilled you're here.
Thanks, Joanie. Well, CoParently is an online scheduling and communication tool designed specifically for co-parents. And our goal is really to help co-parents eliminate the emotion and allow child-focused communication and scheduling so that we try as much as possible to eliminate any sort of arguing and emotion and make sure that the kids are the ones that are put first.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, that's so vitally important. And the term about conflict is really so important because many studies have shown that it's the conflict that does most of the damage, whether you're in a divorce or in a marriage. And by reducing conflict, especially after the divorce, and as you start progressing in the world of co-parenting, which of course is going to be a very long and lengthy one, then you want to be understanding how to communicate better and reduce conflict on many levels. So I'm very impressed with the tool that Hanif has created and the using it as a resource. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your own background and how you came into this world of creating this tool, and then we could take it from there.
Well, really, I came into this in two different ways. First, I'm a child of divorce, and this is a tool that I wish my parents had when they were getting divorced when I was 10 years old. Things weren't always great, and there was always arguing and conflict around scheduling and clearing up that communication. The second way I got into this is my background is in internet products and services, and I was sitting talking with a friend of mine who was going through a divorce, and she was saying to me the problems she was having in making sure that the schedule was correct. And making sure that both parents were on the same page. And with my background, I sat there shaking my head going, surely this problem has been solved before. And when we took a look, we found that there was a few solutions out there, but nothing that sort of encompassed everything about scheduling and communication. And the key things that we wanted to highlight and that we wanted to make sure parents had in tools that we were providing is the ability to to clearly put in parenting time, to clearly delineate where a transition is and when a transition is, and what the rules around that transition are. Furthermore, we wanted to make sure that both parents were always on the same page. So what we did was we developed what we call the Acknowledge and Approve system. We did several years of research in developing this product, and what we found a lot of the time in miscommunication wasn't necessarily that one parent or the other parent was trying to be devious or create conflict. There was simply a misunderstanding.
Yes.
And that was twofold. Sometimes it was the delivery method of that communication. So, can you please pick up Billy from baseball practice on Wednesday?
The tone.
Yeah, and then what would happen is both parents would show up on Wednesday, and one of the parents would say, "I thought you asked me," and the other parent would say, "No, I meant next Wednesday." And so it was simply the way that communication was delivered. The other thing we found was that there is always emotion involved in listening or reading communication from your ex. And sometimes that emotion changes the way parents interpret that communication. So what we wanted to do is build a calendar where that interpretation gets removed, that emotion gets removed, so that the children are put first and that their parents are always there when they need them.
Yes.
And that's what I meant with the tone, is that it avoids that. I was thinking you were heading in a little bit of different direction, but that's, you know, people misunderstand the tone that came across, or they take it personally, so that, like you said, that it removes all that emotional stuff that comes up that can easily set somebody off and start an argument.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't remove all of it, because sometimes that still creeps in there, but as much as possible, we like to have it removed.
And it diffuses it. You know, last week on the show, I had mentioned that after the divorce, you need to look at the co-parenting relationship more like a business relationship that has to run smoothly, because your product is raising the children that you love, and you want to do it in the best ways, regardless of what you may think of each other personally and some of the pain that you've experienced through the divorce. So this is a wonderful way of really keeping a separation and allowing yourself to emotionally discharge and just keep to the facts and keep to the agreements. And it eliminates so many misunderstandings because everything is more in black and white. Isn't that so?
That's correct. I mean, and one of the big reasons we created this is when parents go through separation and divorce, they're told to turn their parenting relationship and to change their parenting relationship from an emotive relationship into a business-like relationship. Well, everyone who's in business, the most fundamental tools that you use are a calendar and email. And without those, we would be absolutely lost. And we said, why aren't there those fundamental tools specifically designed for co-parenting situation? So there's calendars out there, there's other calendars, but they haven't been designed specifically to highlight parenting time. And that's so important, because that's what we say is scheduling and communication in any family is difficult. There's so much stuff going on, depending on the age of your children, depending how many children. It's compounded. With separated and divorced parents, it's even greater, because not just it's the scheduling of day-to-day activities, but it's at which house those children are going to be at. It's going from home to home, remembering things like, you know, special things for sports, and then also getting them to those activities on time. So we wanted to make something that was specifically designed for co-parents.
And when you also think about it, if they couldn't get along and communicate when they were married, like you said, it just compounds it even more when now they're divorced, and that's, you know, the problem. So anyways, it looks like my picture froze a little bit, but we'll continue on here.
I know Hanif had mentioned that he was going to talk to us about 3 ways you don't want to co-parent. So maybe you could share some of that with us, because I think by getting those don'ts, we can understand more about how to do it right.
The first and foremost thing that we say to our parents, and that we've got from divorce professionals, is don't use the children as messenger. Under any circumstances, if you have to communicate about anything with your co-parent, with your other parent, never, ever, ever use your kids as the messenger. It's not their job to relay your messages. And also, we all used to play the Chinese whispers game in school, where every time you say something to someone else and they deliver that message onto someone else, it changes just a little bit. And that's not something we want. The second thing we say is try as much as possible to put aside the emotion when you're scheduling and communicating about your children. Remember that you're trying to put your children first, and however you feel about your ex, when you're trying to get that job of scheduling done, try as much as possible to put that emotion aside. And the third thing is remember that your kids need to be kids. Don't burden them with adult problems, with your problems, with your ex's problems. Let them be kids, because I know every single co-parent I have ever spoken to says the number one thing that they're concerned with is the welfare of their kids. They want happy, well-adjusted children. And we know now, research shows that divorce doesn't necessarily have to affect children. When parents communicate effectively, that any ill effect that may have happened from the divorce is completely eliminated.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I totally endorse all three of those statements. That they're things that I teach and work with in my own coaching clients. And I wanted to add another point that goes with that, and that is, if you can take the high road and be the one who may be more flexible, or giving in on a certain situation, or accommodating when you're asked a favor that is beyond the normal scheduling situation, you are opening the door to your ex more likely doing the same for you. It's never going to start by waiting for them. But if you're able to give them the opportunity to see you saying, sure, I'll accommodate, I'll make a change and a shift here, I can do you a favor, they're more likely to do a favor for you. And that starts a co-parenting relationship based on cooperation and based on remembering we are still a family. And these are our children. That's what this is about.
Absolutely. And the other thing I would like to add there is often the compromise not only benefits your co-parent, but greatly benefits your kids.
Yes.
It's being a role model. Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. and often, I mean, what we're actually seeing is in those scheduling compromises, often it's the best thing for the kids for them to be either picked up an hour later or an hour earlier, or if their grandparents are in town, they can spend an extra few hours with them before you go to pick them up or before they're dropped off. Remember that those compromises often greatly benefit the kids.
Mm-hmm. And to try to remove any of that. If you see a blank screen, that's me talking, so just don't worry about that. But as far as, it also just helps the children see that there are difficult times in life that things are going to happen that way. So how do we handle it so that they can see this?
And that leads to the fact that we are constant role models for our kids.
Absolutely.
So by using this tool and creating a more cooperative relationship, we are role modeling how to get along with people who may have different feelings than we do, or different values and beliefs about things. And in co-parenting, we all know that one parent may say A and B, and the other may say Y and Z, and we have to learn to get along, and our kids have to learn to get along. In two different houses, the rules may be different. But it still can be, and it still can work, if both of you understand that the bigger picture is about the well-being of your children.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So I was going to say, let's make sure that they know your website and what they will see and what they can do from there.
Yeah, it's CoParently.com is the website, and you can feel free to check it out there. You can sign up there. On Rosalind's site, the Child-Centred Divorce, we actually have we offer a discount. So if you visit us through Child-Centred Divorce, you're even entitled to a discount.
Yes, it's right on the homepage of childcentereddivorce.com. If you just click the ad, you'll see there, and that'll immediately link you into getting a discount. So it's another incentive to give this a try and experience what it's like to have a resource that you can depend on that can simplify the process. Also, I'd love for you to talk, Hanif, about the value in having professionals being able to peek over your shoulder when you're on your site. So if you're working with a mediator or an attorney or a child psychologist or any other kind of professional who's involved in supporting you through your divorce, that they have access to the tool.
Yeah, so with CoParently, what you're able to do is invite a family law professional or anybody to have access to your account so that they can help you through some of these scheduling problems. And that may be anything from your lawyer to a counselor to a divorce mentor even we have. And what that allows them to do is see all the communication and the scheduling. It allows them to get up to date instantly on what it is that's going on in your family and with your situation. It's particularly helpful in mediation situations. What we're finding now is a lot of mediators are actually using it as a tool to help build out the parenting schedule when they're actually in mediation, and they go through and build it on the calendar so that both parents, they use it as sort of a bridge to common understanding to say, yes, this is something that we can agree upon. You can take these days, I'm taking these days, and they go literally, some of them go day by day building it out. It's also useful in more higher conflict situations. We have special tools built in for parenting coordinators so that if they're not able to mediate resolutions with scheduling, they can actually arbitrate a new schedule in. And a lot of parenting coordinators are finding that helpful. A lot of parenting coordinators are also saying it's starting to save their clients a lot of money. Because as you know, in higher conflict situations, when there's resolution needed, often the parenting coordinators need to listen to one side of the story and then need to listen to the other side of the story and then make a determination or find a way to move forward. With CoParently, what they're able to do is instantly get up to speed on what it is that's going on. They can see what the schedule is, if there was a new schedule proposed, what the communication is, and what the responses were. And so the biggest feedback we're getting from parenting coordinators is that they're saving their clients a lot of money.
That sounds excellent, excellent. And I would think just a lot of frustration. Do you also find that this is really a tool to start, and of course parents are still picking up the phone and connecting if they have to, but this is really where you prefer that they go so there's less conflict?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we have parents on a broad spectrum of broad spectrum of the conflict spectrum, really, and that is we have parents who are still absolutely best of friends. They talk on the phone quite often, and they use the tool to make sure that both of them are on the same page with the scheduling. We have parents who are, where there's still some conflict, they like to talk on the phone a lot less. I had one comment just yesterday where a co-parent had sent in and said one of the great things that he likes about the tool is that he doesn't have to phone his ex to find out when soccer practice is. It's just simple that he can log in and say, okay, that's when it is. I don't need to go through and say phone your ex and say, I'm sorry, when is that soccer practice again? All the way up to the highest conflict people where parenting coordinators have ordered their clients to only communicate through CoParently. So we really, really have the broad spectrum of co-parents using the service.
To me, it looks like you also can help cut the cord. I mean, part of the divorce process, it's a habit to be connected and to be talking. And I remember just trying to cut the cord and go your own direction, but if you've been married for 20 years, you're used to communicating with this person. So it's difficult, but to me, if you don't have to call and say, when is the soccer practice, that helps alleviate the communication and cut the cord even sooner. Would you say?
Yes, absolutely. There's some academic articles been written about technology and divorce, and they give the example that scheduling, the greater degree of difficulty in scheduling is usually resolved by greater communication. However, with divorced families, what they say is more communication often leads to more conflict. So what we wanted to do is build this tool where separated and divorced parents are able to communicate effectively and still reduce their conflict. So yes, so that we have some parents who communicate absolutely every day on it. We have some parents who have said we're only going to try to communicate a couple of times a week on this because we want to cut that cord.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And just to remind our listeners that this isn't just for the time of the divorce, because you're co-parenting for decades ahead. I have a grown son, and I'm still parenting, obviously, and will for the rest of my life. So when you have go through the processes of watching your kids age in school and move on to different phases, things change with sports and activities and clubs and social life, and it's a resource that you could continue using for years down the pike, because it just keeps everyone in tune with what's going on and reduces the chance of misunderstanding or missing important activities and events. And tell us also about some of the additional resources, such as listing health information and things along those lines.
There's within the service, you can also there's other things. We have an expenses management system for parents. So what that does is allows parents to keep track of their child-related expenses, and it doesn't. And what we've done is we've sort of designed it in such a way where it gives a running total. Because what we found with our research, that it's not necessarily that one of the parents incurs an expense and then the other parent pays it off straight away. What we found is one parent incurs one expense and another parent incurs a different expense. So one parent might be buying school supplies where the other parent might be buying hockey equipment, and the other parent might be buying winter clothes, and so on and so forth. So what we wanted to do is give parents a running total of exactly what it is that one of the other parents owes. And actually, the interesting thing is we expected parents to be paying off those totals a lot more often than they actually do. What we've found, what they're actually doing, is letting them go for longer because they're so close in terms of what they're spending that they wait until it gets sort of to greater than $200 before they'll write the other parent a check. Part of the other tools, another feature of the service that we have is a shared contact. So insurance information, doctors, teachers, that sort of thing can be put into the system and be called up at any point from either parent. We also allow free guest accounts. So if there's a step-parent involved, if there's grandparents that are helping to take care of the children, if there's a nanny, they can also have access to the calendar. They will only be able to view or comment on the things that they've been invited to comment on, or any of the events that they're actually take part in. They can see the whole calendar. And what we've also done is for older children is given them the ability to have access to it as well. Now, in order to keep one of the first things that we said do not do earlier on is don't use the children as a messenger. So when you give your children access, they have a special children's account where they can only see the calendar and the context. They are not able to see any of that communication back and forth between the parents. So, I mean, what we're actually finding is with older children, they just like to, they'd like to log in. They have a smartphone or a laptop themselves. They like to know where, what the schedule is for where they're sitting at mom's house or dad's house. And it just gives them that little bit extra bit of empowerment as well.
You brought up a good point. How about if you have like older children in college and both parents really want to know their schedule because you're not involved that much anymore. They have their own schedule. So can the older children, like college kids, go in there and say, this is where I'm going to be, this is where a game is, we're playing football over here or soccer, or can older kids do something like that? Or
they can. In our experience, usually when co-parents, when their oldest child turns anywhere between 15 and 16, is when they stop using services like ours, and that's mainly because the kids, the schedules are sort of much more fluid, and their communication about scheduling needs to be less. While I would like, I've got very young children, so they're not in university yet. While I imagine I would love to have them let me know where they are and what they're doing during university, I suspect that probably won't happen.
No, I was just thinking if there's a game coming up this weekend or something, just figuring, because kids play sports.
I mean, it's possible to use a service like that. We currently don't have anybody using it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once again, we want to make sure that they know your website, where to go.
Yes, it's CoParently. It's CoParently.com. And in terms of cost, that's something that usually comes up. It's either $10 per parent per month or $100 per parent per year. And that, again, you get the discount on the Child-Centered Divorce if you come from there. There's also a 30-day free trial, so you're more than welcome to come and try it out and have a play with it. And if you don't think it works for you, you've lost absolutely nothing.
Excellent. I love that. That's a great way to have a free trial so they can test it out and see how it works. It's just a pleasure to have you on the show. Roz, go ahead. You had something there going.
I thought that maybe you could leave us with a personal story of someone who's been using the resource and has found a real value in changing their situation.
Well, it's a very recent story, and it's actually one of the accomplishments we didn't think we would reach for a while. Remember, we only launched the service back in January of this year, and I was speaking to a group of parenting coordinators actually just yesterday, and one of the parenting coordinators that uses our service, who was actually one of the first parenting coordinators to get their clients on, came up to me and said that she was absolutely amazed that she got this set of clients that came through another parenting coordinator, which means that they have been using a parenting coordinator for years and years. And at the beginning, she didn't know how she was going to get these parents to start to do things for themselves. And she said that CoParently is the only thing that she's ever seen that in a situation like this, where she's able to take very, very high conflict parents, and essentially what they did at the beginning was everything happened through the parenting coordinator, through CoParently, and eventually the parents got used to the service and got used to communicating, and got used to scheduling and asking for changes in the schedule and saying yes and no and giving reasons why they couldn't or they could make those changes. And to the point now where that parenting coordinator has said that where she used to deal with those clients at least twice or 3 times a week, she's now actually speaking to them once a month.
That's excellent.
Well, that's just a remarkable story and a fabulous example of what we're talking about, how things can shift just by using technology like this.
Yes, and I mean, CoParently is great because it allows you to have that schedule and that communication resource on your smartphone, wherever you are, in the office, any place you are, you can always log in and take a look and see what's going on.
That's right. So just to remind everyone that if you visit the Child-Centered Divorce website, childcentereddivorce.com, we have a special discount coupon there that just click and you'll get the discount for CoParently, or go directly to CoParently.com, and you'll be able to check out the tool and take advantage for a free monthly trial. So that's a win-win all around.
And also, they can also reach you through the divorceview.com, and there's also a link there to you, Roz. And this video will be up on the divorceview.com if people would like to see it and learn more, or to hear the video again and learn more about CoParently. So it's just been a pleasure having you on the show. It really has.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Right. And every week we have guests who have something of value to share with you about any facet of divorce and parenting, moving on after divorce, financial aspects, and the whole gamut. So this is Rosalind Sedaka, and my co-host is Joanie Winberg, and we want to thank you so much for joining us this week. We look forward to seeing you again with us.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.